Harm reduction is really going there with people who are addicted, attempting as best you can to see them as humans, fully human beings, and see their predicament and attempt to help them find a way out, right? From where they are, which means making sure that they're not doing things that are going to kill themselves or presumably harm others. And I think a lot of people would understand that impulse and think it's probably the smartest way to engage people with these kind of addictions. At the same time, if there's a worry, a completely legitimate worry, it seems to me, that if you are providing drugs to people who are already addicted and you're trying to do it in a way that helps them sustain themselves and then tries to bring them around to getting over these drugs in a constructive way, there is a danger that you are actually enabling this addiction, especially if they're also then allowed to live freely in the society so that we have these extraordinary gatherings of essential homeless addicts. I'm not supposed to use the word homeless or addict anymore, but people who are addicted, who are homeless, who don't have homes, who are in these camps, these settlements, these that are becoming increasingly dangerous. A lot of this kind of self-medication is related to all sorts of mental challenges, mental illness, some schizophrenia, some also a whole depression, a whole variety of things which people have sought. And then they find these communities, and these communities are built around feeling at home with other people like that. And they're becoming places where these drugs are disseminated. And you can see how that creating a real public health and public order problem.
Nobody in harm reduction wants people defecating on the street, peeing on the street, shooting up on the street. The situation that we have now is a really complex social problem involving lack of treatment for mental illness, lack of treatment for addiction, lack of housing. You do not see these situations like West Virginia has the highest overdose rate in the country, does not have much homelessness because it's very cheap. So the important thing is that we have to emphasize what works. And we have been arresting people to try to get them into recovery or something for the last 100 years with zero success. And we know that if you look at the research, this whole concept of enabling is just wrong. For example, in Switzerland, they prescribe heroin. So that's pretty much as enabling as you can get, right? You're giving somebody a prescription for heroin. Now, you would think if enabling were true, that these people would be less likely to move into more traditional maintenance or abstinence treatment. They are not. There is no harm reduction intervention that has been studied that proves the enabling case. Like, it just doesn't show up. Like, I originally thought that, oh my God, if people are parked on methadone, they will like sort of be missing the wonderful joys of complete abstinence because they like only went halfway. But when I started to look at the data, that isn't what it shows. It shows that it cuts the death rate in half and it doesn't keep people from moving on. Now, there may be some minority for whom that is the case. But if you look, for example, at our criminalization policy, so, people argue that the only way to clean up the streets is to arrest these people. Now, we have more drug arrests than any other kind of arrests going on in the United States. So we do a lot of drug arrests. We also know that only less than 7% of people who are incarcerated get treatment. The treatment rate is higher outside of prison.
Yes, but here's the thing. I'm not going to defend the incarceration model in which you throw people into jail. They mainly do not get treatment for what they're doing. They may even continue their drug use in jail. But I think there are people who say, well, arrest may be the wrong formula. But if someone is dealing with serious illnesses, mental illnesses and so on, and they do pose a potential harm to others, there's obviously clearly also openly harming themselves in many respects. There should be a procedure or some way in which we can involuntarily push these people into treatment, mandatory treatment, not jail, but mandatory treatment.
Okay.
That seems to me to be a combination of the two things that might...
Why is our first impulse to coerce people? If you look at our current treatment system, it is extraordinarily coercive. Most people who about half of people in treatment currently are there for some legal system related reason. That means that if I have, let's say I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse, and I'm sitting there in a meeting with people who are rolling their eyes because they want this damn thing to be over. Coercion actually distorts the treatment system in a way that makes it less effective.